Thank you so much, Oded. And the final word is to INSS Executive Director, General Amos Yadlin.
Good evening, everybody. I think we had wonderful 2 days of learning, and this is why this organization exists, to learn, to go deeper into our understanding of the strategic situation, and more than that, not only understand what's going on, but what to do about it. And I want first to thank Emily to be the facilitator and the leader of this event, to the Konrad-Adenauer Foundation for your partnership, to the Bundeswehr University. You are wonderful partners, and we will continue to work together. I want to thank to all the speakers that gave us their analysis, and I think by listening to each other, we all richer from what we have learned. I got a phone call this morning from a journalist about the deal. And he basically asked me 3 questions that are the popular question in the street. From a year of perspective, can you say that this is a good deal or a bad deal? Second, whether the fight over the deal was justified or right. And is Iran still an existential threat to Israel? 3 very simple, straightforward, popular questions. So let me answer them, or give you the answer I gave to this journalist. And I start from the third one, because this one is interesting. We never said that Iran is an existential threat to Israel unless they have a nuclear weapon. And even the defense minister, the former defense minister in Herzliya last week said that Iran is not an existential threat, and I cannot agree more. Because with all the conventional behavior of Iran in the Middle East, and this comes to the last question here from the last panel, we can cope with it. We are not in the 1940s, we are not in the 1950s. Israel is the strongest military power in the Middle East. And we can cope with Iran, with whatever they are doing in Yemen, in Syria, in Lebanon, or any place, other place. So Iran is not an existential threat. Iran is threatening Israel. Iran wants to eliminate Israel. But thanks to the strength of Israel, they cannot do it. Today, if they will have nuclear weapons, totally different story. So the goal is that they will not be able to be an existential threat to Israel, and I will speak about it a little bit later. Whether the fight against the deal was justified, I think the strategy that the state of Israel chose was not only wrong, was irresponsible. Yes, the deal was a bad deal. The deal was a problematic deal. But unfortunately, it was achieved by the rest of the international community, all the superpowers. It was approved in the Security Council, and to go and fight in the US Congress was a big mistake. Instead, this institute and all my writing personally recommended another strategy for Israel to fight the deal, to make sure that we mitigate the risk from the deal. This was to engage the Americans, not agree with them that this is a good deal, but looking into the future and making all the necessary preparation to cope with the weaknesses of the deal in the future. Because from a year perspective, the deal is the same deal. It wasn't changed. And what we have said a year ago is still right. In the short run, it is not such a bad deal. The Iranians are rolled back, they are better inspected, all the nuclear enriched uranium was exported away from Iran, and they are much more, we are in a better situation than we was a year ago. And you know, all these predictions on the $100 billion also not so materialized. So the deal in the short run is not a disaster on the nuclear issue. And on the conventional issue, I already told you, yes, it's helped the Iranians, but we can cope with it. The problem with the deal is the long range. It's the sunset clause. It's the fact that after 10 years, the Iranians getting legitimacy for a full-scale nuclear program with unlimited number of centrifuges, nuclear reactors, and whatever. This is the problem, and we have to cope with this. So, on these two strategic dilemmas between Dever and cholera, how you translate it, between two bleak alternatives, a stronger Iran on nuclear issue or a stronger Iran on conventional and malignant behavior, negative behavior in the Middle East. Both are not good. But a real leader and strategist should define to himself what is more dangerous and what is the order and priority of dealing with it. And I will agree for anybody who will say nuclear Iran is much more dangerous with a little bit more stronger conventional Iran. And the second issue of what is more dangerous for Israel, ISIS or Iran, both are bad. Both are problematic. But once again, a strategist should agree that from Israel point of view, maybe not from European point of view, American point of view, Iran is much more dangerous than ISIS. With all due respect to ISIS, what do they have? One missile? One air defense? Yes, terrorists. We are living with terrorists for 120 years. And Iran is much more dangerous for Israel, much more dangerous. So the choice again is Iran. And whining is not a strategy. Saying it on Iran and saying it on what you are doing vis-a-vis the other choice, ISIS or Iran. If you think that Iran is more dangerous, deal with it. Deal with it in Syria. They are in Syria. Deal with it in Lebanon. Don't ask the rest of the world to deal with it. It's an Israeli problem. Do something about it. So I'm calling, let me put it this way. We should look at the consequences of this agreement every year, as we are doing today, and see which assumptions are valid and which assumptions maybe were for the sakes of politics or propaganda or whatever. There is an implicit assumption that Iran will change, even though the President and the Secretary of State have said that this is not in their calculation. They think that the agreement is so good that even if Iran is not changing, it cannot go to the bomb. They blocked all the ways to the bomb. But the implicit assumption is that Iran will be changed. We have to test it every year, to evaluate it, to analyze it. Because if we come towards the end of the agreement with Iran that have not changed, we'll have to do something about it. We cannot afford this regime with enough fossil materials for hundreds of bombs, with zero distance from the bomb. But we were given 10 years to be prepared. And if Iran is now out of the agenda, and nobody doing anything about it, this is a mistake strategically. We were given 10 years. Let's prepare if we needed to do it. And we have to reevaluate the assumption, and this is explicit assumption, that the agreement is blocking all the way to the tracks to the bomb. And here Gideon Frank lecture was wonderful. He showed us where to look at and where the Iranians can cheat and what will be the timing, the right timing for the Iranians to cheat. They must be stupid to cheat before they get all the benefit from the agreement. But from year 3, year 4, year 5, over there we have to look much, much better. And that's why I called for a parallel agreement between Israel and America. Because we are not part of this problematic agreement. But we can agree with our only ally in the world, who share the same strategic objective, that Iran will not have the bomb, to do better on creating and sustaining the two leverages that brought Iran backward after a decade. The sanction or any diplomatic mechanism that can be a credible threat vis-à-vis Iran, and I fully agree with everybody that's saying that the snapback mechanism of this agreement is quite weak, how to strengthen it, and a credible military option that the Iranians will understand that they cannot sneak to the bomb or openly go to the bomb. Intelligence, so important, because at that moment, and I tell you as ex-chief of intelligence agency, all the time you have not unlimited budget or resources. You prioritize. And at that moment, Iran is very low, I am afraid, in many, many P5+1 countries. Because there are more problems there. Russia, ISIS, China, Pakistan, North Korea. And in a way, psychologically, they don't want to look at Iran because they may find things that they are not happy with. So cooperation on intelligence between Israel and its allies, especially the US, is very, very important. Then the challenge of dual policy vis-à-vis Iran. On the nuclear issue, keeping all the commitments. On the other, the conventional behavior of Iran, terror, civil war in Syria, what they are doing in Iraq, supporting Hezbollah, human rights. Can we really, when I'm saying we, is the international community, especially the US, can they conduct a dual track policy? I'm afraid the last year is telling us that no. Let's work together to identify how we can create such a double track policy with some implications from what you are doing on the nuclear issue and what you are doing on the non-nuclear issue. There is the challenge of further proliferation. I belong to those who think that this is serious, that everybody understood that if they want a nuclear capability, the Iranian model is a good one. We are blessed that the neighborhood, the Middle East, is now busy with other issues. But I think everybody have learned the lesson, and we have to look very, very carefully on countries, on superpowers, regional superpowers that will not let Iran being the only one with the nuclear capabilities. Then we have the challenge of North Korea. It is connected to the intelligence issue because the linkage between Iran and North Korea is not well covered. Is not well covered. And we waked up in 2006, 2007 to find something that nobody even dreamed about. a nuclear reactor shipped from North Korea to Syria. So to assume that Iran, that is much richer than Syria and has all the interest in the world, when everybody looking at Iran to do something in another place, this is a channel that we all have to cover. So the way ahead is challenging. And the lesson that we have learned today, that there are many areas that this not perfect agreement call for innovative, creative policy that we have to shape together with our main ally. And this is to be done earlier than later. Because as we are going away from the Iranian deal, other problems pop up. And if we could reach an agreement on how to mitigate this risk from the deal, I think we will be much more ready for the 10 years from now that nobody knows where it will be developed. Some people think that they know exactly. I think that there are no prophets around, even we are close to Jerusalem. So let's thanks again to all of you coming and all of you that have educated us so deeply and professionally, and looking forward to see you next July.